You have $650 million and nobody knows. Not your neighbors, not your friends, not the guy at the diner who's been making your coffee for 6 years and knows you take it black. You're not hiding. You're just ordinary on purpose. While everyone else is out here chasing the thing that looks like wealth, you quietly became it. And the most unsettling part, the number arrived in a boring email. Subject line: Q3 portfolio summary. No exclamation mark, no champagne, just you standing in a hardware store deciding on a half-inch plumbing fitting. This is what $650 million actually looks like. It starts with a vending machine in a hospital break room. Not a revelation, not a business plan, just a Tuesday afternoon, somewhere between your shift ending and the parking garage elevator, when you notice the machine is out of water and the one next to it is jammed. And instead of being annoyed, you stop. You look at it differently. You think, who actually owns this thing? You go home and you find out. It takes about 40 minutes of searching, which is 40 minutes longer than most people would bother. What you find is a name, a small operator, a guy running maybe a dozen machines across 3 buildings, pulling in somewhere between $40 and $120 a month per machine after product cost and location fees. Not glamorous, not even interesting really. Just a number sitting there on the screen while the rest of the apartment is quiet. But you do the math, and the math does something to you. Because if one machine in a decent location clears $80 a month net, and you could place 5 machines, that's $400. 10 machines are $800. 25 machines, run tight, right locations. You're looking at somewhere between $1,200 and $3,000 a month coming in whether you show up or not. The money isn't the point yet. What gets you is its architecture. The fact that the machine doesn't need you. It just sits there in a hallway, solving a small problem for a rotating cast of strangers, and it pays you every single time. You spend $900 on your first machine. Used, a little beat up on one side, you place it in the lobby of a mid-sized dental office in exchange for a percentage of revenue and a handshake agreement. The first month, it clears $280 gross. After product, after the location cut, after driving out there twice to restock, you net $190. $190. Your coworker made more than that last weekend doing one shift of overtime. Your cousin just got a signing bonus that would cover this machine's earnings for the next 4 years. Nobody congratulates you. Nobody even knows. You sit with the number on a Thursday night and feel something that isn't quite pride and isn't quite disappointment. It's something quieter than both. But you don't quit, because you're not looking at the $190. You're looking at what the $190 proves. It proves the architecture works. So you place a second machine, then a third. You start watching commercial laundromats the same way you watch the vending machine. Not as a customer, but as someone trying to understand the ownership layer underneath. You find out a small coin laundromat, the kind with 15 machines in a strip mall off a state route, can generate anywhere from $60,000 to over $200,000 a year in revenue. You find out that the ones that fail usually fail for operational reasons, not market reasons. People always need to wash their clothes. That need doesn't go away in a recession. It doesn't go away when the stock market drops 18% in a quarter. It just keeps going, load after load, quarter after quarter. You buy your first laundromat for $47,000. It's in a working-class neighborhood in Ohio. The machines are older but functional. The lease has 6 years left on it. The previous owner, a retired postal worker named Dale, ran it out of a flip phone and a spiral notebook. The books are a mess, but underneath the mess, the cash flow is real. The first year, it nets $38,000. You don't celebrate. You use it as a down payment on the next one. This is the part nobody sees. Not the scaling, not the portfolio, not the compound effect of 8 years of quiet decisions. Just a person doing math at a kitchen table at midnight. Just a Tuesday observation that turned into a Wednesday question that turned into a Thursday purchase, that turned into something nobody has a word for yet. The number didn't matter. The architecture did. Your accountant's name is Karen. She has been doing books for small business owners for 19 years. She has seen sloppy LLCs, chaotic sole proprietors, and restaurant owners who kept receipts in a shoebox. She does not impress easily. She sits across from you at a folding table in the back office of your third laundromat. You have just handed her a folder. Inside that folder is a summary of everything you currently own. She reads it slowly. She doesn't say anything for a while. Then she looks up and says, "This is the most deliberately uninteresting portfolio I have ever seen." She means it as a mild criticism. You take it as the highest compliment you've ever received, because that's exactly what you've been building. Not a brand, not a vision, not a company with a mission statement, a logo, and a pitch deck. Just a quiet collection of assets that solve basic, unglamorous human problems and generate cash every single month, whether you're watching or not. Here's what the folder contains. 4 coin laundromats across 2 Midwestern states. Combined, they pull in roughly $290,000 a year in gross revenue. After expenses, utilities, minor repairs, part-time attendance, the net is somewhere around $110,000. Not spectacular, not the kind of number that gets you on a podcast, but it comes in every month like rent, because it essentially is rent. People will always need to wash their clothes. That need does not negotiate with recessions. 2 municipal parking lots you acquired through county tax auctions, the kind held on Tuesday mornings in government buildings where almost nobody else bothers to show up. You paid $31,000 for the first one. The second cost $44,500. Together, they generate just over $58,000 a year in net income after maintenance and insurance. You don't manage them day to day. You hired a part-time operator. You see a deposit hit your account every month, and that is essentially the extent of your involvement. 3 highway billboards on state routes in Tennessee and Kentucky. You don't own the advertising on them. You own the land they sit on. Advertising companies lease that land from you on long-term contracts, anywhere from 5 to 15 years, with built-in annual escalations. Currently, each one pays between $800 and $1,400 a month in ground rent. Some months you forget you own them entirely. And then there is the commercial cleaning company. You bought it 2 years ago from a retiring owner in his late 60s named Frank, who had built it over 31 years into something that ran mostly on its own momentum. 12 contracted clients, office buildings, a medical clinic, 2 school districts, annual revenue just over $1.1 million. Net margin thin but reliable, the kind of business that loses clients slowly and replaces them slowly and never makes headlines and never will. Karen flips through the folder again. She asks if you're planning to pivot into anything more growth-oriented. A tech play maybe, some multifamily real estate, something with upside. You tell her no. She nods, like she expected that answer and doesn't fully understand it. What she doesn't see, what almost nobody sees, is the logic underneath the boredom. Every asset in that folder has one thing in common. It serves a need that doesn't go away. Not in a downturn, not when interest rates spike, not when some new platform disrupts the way people shop, communicate, or work. People park their cars. People wash their clothes. Buildings get dirty every single day, and someone has to clean them. Drivers on a highway see whatever is on that billboard whether they want to or not. There is no app for any of this. There is no disruption coming. There is no competitor who is going to out-innovate a parking lot. And that is the point. The flashy guys, the ones raising venture rounds, chasing multiple expansions, posting about their portfolio on LinkedIn. They're operating in markets where being interesting is the price of admission, where the competition is constant and the attention is always on you, and one bad quarter can unravel 3 years of work. You are not in those markets. You are deliberately, carefully, almost aggressively not in those markets. You are in the Tuesday morning markets. The ones nobody is watching. The ones that just keep running, quiet and steady, long after the interesting thing down the street has closed. Karen closes the folder. She says she'll have the quarterly summary ready by Thursday. You thank her and drive home in your 2019 Honda Pilot with 91,000 miles on it and a crack in the rear bumper you've been meaning to fix for 8 months. You don't fix it. There's a guy at the networking event. You've seen his type before. He's wearing a plain white t-shirt that costs $340, which you know because you looked it up once after someone mentioned the brand. He drives a matte gray Range Rover with a custom wrap. He talks about his portfolio the way some people talk about their personality, loudly, in the direction of whoever might be listening. He is performing wealth, carefully, deliberately, at considerable expense. You drove here in a 2019 Honda Pilot with 91,000 miles on it and a crack in the rear bumper you've been meaning to fix for 8 months. You're wearing a fleece from a sporting goods store that was on sale. Your watch tells time and does nothing else. When he asks what you do, you tell him you own a few small businesses. Laundromats, mostly. Some other stuff. You watch his face make the calculation in real time. The car, the fleece, the laundromats. He smiles politely and turns slightly towards someone else. In his head, you've already been sorted. Mid-level. Comfortable, maybe. Not worth the full pitch. Good. That moment, that small, quiet dismissal, is worth more to you than anything else that will happen tonight. Because the moment someone underestimates you, they stop watching you. And the moment they stop watching you, you can do whatever you want. This is what people get wrong about stealth wealth. They think it's about modesty. They think it's some kind of philosophical stance. The humble rich person, at peace with their abundance, unbothered by status. Maybe for some people it is. But for you, it's a strategy. The ordinary life is armor, and you wear it every day on purpose. The Honda isn't a statement. It's a tool. It reliably starts every morning, handles highway miles without complaint, and draws exactly zero attention in any parking lot in America. Currently, the average new car transaction is sitting close to $48,000. The average monthly payment on a new vehicle is around $735. You paid cash for the Pilot 4 years ago and have spent nothing on it except gas and oil changes. Every dollar that isn't going toward a car payment is going somewhere that compounds. That's the math. It's not complicated, it's just unpopular. Your house is similar. 3-bedroom colonial in a quiet suburb. Bought it 11 years ago. The mortgage has been paid off for 2 years. The neighbors think you're a small business owner who does okay. They're not wrong. They're just missing several zeros. You don't correct them. What you've learned, slowly and then all at once, is that visibility is expensive in ways that have nothing to do with money. The moment people know what you have, they begin relating to what you have instead of to you. Conversations shift. Requests appear. A cousin you haven't spoken to in 4 years finds a reason to call. Someone at church mentions they have a business idea they've been working on. Your brother-in-law starts talking about a real estate deal that just needs a little seed capital to get off the ground. You've seen it happen to other people. You've watched wealth change the temperature of a room the moment it becomes visible. It's not malicious. Most of it isn't even conscious. It's just what money does to the space around it when people can see it. So you keep the space clean. The fleece, the Pilot, the laundromats, the carefully maintained appearance of someone who is doing fine, but not exceptionally. It costs you almost nothing to maintain, and it returns something that money genuinely cannot purchase: the ability to move through your own life without being perceived as a target. At the networking event, the guy in the $340 t-shirt is now deep in conversation with someone who has a startup. He's animated. He's leaning in. He's doing what people do when they think a room is watching. You get a glass of water, talk to 2 people you actually wanted to talk to, and leave by 8:15. On the way home, you pass a coin-operated car wash and notice it's busy for a Tuesday night. You make a mental note to look into who owns the property. The pilot needs nothing. You drive it home anyway. Your best friend since college is named Marcus. He played pickup basketball with you every Sunday for 6 years. He was at your mother's funeral. He is the kind of person who calls on a random Wednesday just to check in. No agenda, no ask, just calling. You do not have many friendships that feel like that, and you know it. 3 months ago, Marcus called on a Wednesday, but this time, there was something underneath the conversation. He'd been building a food truck business for 2 years. Good food, real following, the kind of thing that gets written up in a local paper and has a line at lunch. He wanted to expand, lease a brick and mortar location he'd been eyeing on a corner near downtown. The numbers made sense. The opportunity was real. He needed $85,000. You could have sent that money before the call ended. You could have sent it from your phone, sitting in your car in the parking lot of a laundromat, without feeling it, not even slightly. The number $85,000 to your current balance sheet is the equivalent of about 11 days of passive cash flow across your portfolio. It is not a sacrifice. It is not even a decision, financially speaking, but you didn't send it. You sat with the phone against your ear and you listened, and you felt the full weight of what it means to know exactly what you could do and choose not to do it. That particular feeling doesn't have a clean name. It isn't guilt exactly. It isn't selfishness. It's something more complicated. The specific loneliness of understanding a situation more clearly than the person you love who is living it. Because here is what you have learned, slowly and at some cost. Money handed to someone who isn't structurally ready for it doesn't solve the problem. It accelerates whatever is already there. If the operations are loose, the money makes them looser. If the owner doesn't yet understand cash flow, the difference between revenue and margin, the way a lease can quietly strangle a business that looks healthy from the outside, then capital just buys them a faster, more expensive version of the same lesson they were going to learn anyway. And then the money is gone, and so often is something in the friendship. You've seen it, not with Marcus, but you've seen it. So instead of sending the money, you asked Marcus if you could come by Saturday morning. You sat at his kitchen table with a notepad, and you went through his numbers with him for 3 hours. You found 2 line items in his operating costs that were quietly bleeding him. You asked questions about the lease terms on the new space, the rent escalation clauses, the personal guarantee, what happens in month 18 if foot traffic is 30% below projection. He didn't know the answers to some of those questions, not because he wasn't smart, because nobody had ever asked them with him before. You went back the following Saturday, and the one after that. By the 4th Saturday, Marcus had renegotiated 2 vendor contracts, identified a local small business administration loan program he qualified for, and restructured his expansion timeline in a way that didn't require outside capital at all. He found $60,000 through the SBA program and a small business grant through the city. He signed the lease 6 weeks later. He called you the night he got the keys. He was crying a little, the way people do when something they worked for actually arrives. He said he couldn't have done it without you. You didn't tell him what you could have written the check for. You will probably never tell him. That's not modesty. It's just an understanding of what the story needed to be. His story, built by his decisions, owned by him in a way that no check from you could have made possible. But there are rooms inside your life that nobody gets to walk into. That's the part that doesn't get easier. Not the secrecy itself. You've made peace with that. It's the specific weight of watching someone you love struggle through something you could remove in 60 seconds, and knowing that removing it would be the wrong thing, knowing it fully, sitting with it across a kitchen table for 4 Saturdays in a row. The armor works. Ordinary life protects you. The portfolio runs quiet and the account grows, and nobody watches and nobody asks. But nobody sees it either. And some nights, that's a different kind of cost entirely. The email arrives on a Thursday at 7:12 a.m. You are standing in the plumbing aisle of a Home Depot, not because you needed to be there yourself, You have people for most of this now, but because one of the laundromat locations has a utility sink with a slow drain, and the property manager sent you a text with a photo, and you were already out, so you stopped. You are holding a bottle of drain cleaner in one hand and your phone in the other, trying to remember if the pipe under that sink is PVC or galvanized, because it matters which product you use. That's when the notification comes in. The subject line is Q2 Portfolio Summary. Final. It's from your accountant, Karen. She sends these every quarter. They are thorough and completely unexciting, formatted in the same 12-point Times New Roman she has used for 19 years. You usually read them at your kitchen table on a weekend morning with coffee. You almost put the phone back in your pocket, but something in the number at the top of the preview stops you. You put the drain cleaner down on the shelf. You open the email. You read the summary line twice, slowly, the way you read something when you're not sure you're reading it correctly. Your total verified net worth, including all real property, business equity, liquid holdings, and portfolio assets, has crossed $650 million. You stand there in the plumbing aisle for a moment, fluorescent lights above you. A forklift somewhere in the back of the store is making a slow beeping sound as it reverses. A man in a gray hoodie 2 feet away, comparing prices on copper fittings. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody knows. The store doesn't know. The forklift doesn't know. The number exists in an email on a phone in a hand attached to a person who is holding a bottle of drain cleaner and trying to remember what kind of pipe is under a utility sink in a coin laundromat in Ohio. This is the moment. Not a dinner reservation, not a bottle of champagne, not a phone call from someone who tells you that you've made it. Just fluorescent light and the smell of hardware store and a number on a screen that has been accumulating quietly through 11 years of Tuesday decisions and Wednesday transfers and Saturdays at kitchen tables nobody photographed. You thought it would feel different. You thought there would be something, a shift in the air, a physical sensation, the world rearranging itself slightly to acknowledge what just happened. You had imagined this moment the way everyone imagines a milestone, with some kind of ceremony attached to it. A before and an after that, you could feel the seam between. There is no seam. There is just the plumbing aisle and the forklift and Karen's email and the quiet, steady hum of a life that has not changed because a number changed. You reply to Karen with 3 words, "Thanks. Looks right." Then, you pick the drain cleaner back up, take a photo of the label to send to the property manager, and walk to the checkout. You pay $8.47. You do not use a rewards card because you can never remember if you have one. In the car, you sit for a minute before starting the engine. 11 years ago, you netted $190 from a used vending machine in the lobby of a dental office and sat with that number on a Thursday night, not knowing what to call what you were feeling. It wasn't pride, and it wasn't disappointment, and it wasn't enough to tell anyone about. This is the same feeling. Exactly the same, just with more zeros behind it. That's not nothing. It might actually be everything, because it means the feeling was never about the number. It was about the architecture, the proof of concept, the quiet satisfaction of a system running the way you built it to run, without drama, without applause, without anyone in the plumbing aisle of a Home Depot having any idea. You start the engine. The laundromat drain isn't going to fix itself. You drive back the same way you came. Same road, same pilot, same crack in the bumper you haven't fixed. Nothing about the outside of your life has changed in the last 40 minutes, and nothing will change tomorrow either. The laundromat will open at 6. Karen will send a follow-up question about Q3 projections. Marcus's food truck will have a line at lunch. What's different is quieter than that. Somewhere in this ordinary week, you're going to watch someone spend money to look like they have it, and you're going to notice something you couldn't have named 11 years ago, that the performance of wealth and the architecture of it are rarely found in the same person at the same time. The knowing doesn't make Tuesday easier, but it does make you wonder, what are you actually building? And for whom?